and care. My safety depends on your safety. My care depends on your care. Bystander intervention, but also to intervene on the generational trauma that all of our people continue to experience. Yet again, Asian migrant women had to be on the front lines as the ones that were murdered, to remind state officials, to remind the cops, to remind the United States government that Asian people are dying. 6 months ago, New York City wasn't talking about anti-violence targeting Asian communities on the news. It was very minimal. 6 months ago, we weren't talking about the rise of hate in relationship to how Black Lives Matter builds with Asian communities to understand colonization and white supremacy will come for all of us. So I want to give a quote here by Gary Okahiro that speaks to the kinship between Asian and Black people. We are a kindred people, African and Asian Americans. We share a history of migration, interaction, and cultural sharing, commerce and trade. We share a history of colonization, decolonization, and independence under neo-colonization. We share a history of oppression in the United States that successively has served us as slaves, as cheap labor, as peoples excluded and absorbed, as victims of mob rule and Jim Crow. We share a history of struggle for freedom and other democratization of America, of demands for equality and human dignity. We share a history as a kindred people. We are forging the fire to fight against white supremacy and struggle. I stand here with you with my Korean brother, Sewan, who's going to speak through drumming as we honor prayer, as we honor the vibration that moves us to the fire, to the freedom, to the struggle that we must build together to fight colonization and fight this idea that we don't deserve to exist.
Try not to hit anybody. It's cold out here, so if you move around, it's all good, okay? Nobody's off beat. Everybody find their beat, yeah?
She's got a sign I just had to show off. Anyways, can we give them another round of applause, please? Thank you so much, and it's just such a testament to the energy here that we can have the speeches that we've heard, the viewpoint that we've heard expressed, the music and the poetry and the expression that we've felt here today. In that vein, it's my honor to call upon Minister Kirsten John Foy of the Ark of Justice, who has been one of the fiercest and loudest voices in the social justice arena. Minister Foy, you take the mic.
No justice! No justice! No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it? I've come tonight for two purposes. First, to honor those who have been robbed from us, to honor their shed blood and sacrifice, and to uphold their humanity. And the second reason I've come is to speak about two things: love and power. Love and power. Throughout the history of this nation, we as people of color have paved the streets in our blood. We have hung from trees. We have been laid out across railroad tracks. We have been hunted and shot down like wild animals. And we have done it at the hands of white supremacy. The enemy can be counted on two things. First, always revealing himself. And second, always picking the wrong victims. We have hung separately and we have bled separately. But today, our blood is mingled together in the streets of America. And now, white supremacy has awoken another giant. So I have come as a black man to stand together with my Asian sisters and brothers. One giant community bound together in love with another giant community to speak truth to power. We've heard all of the rhetoric that is necessary. Now it is time to speak truth to power. It is time for us collectively to decide the fate of this nation. It is time for us collectively to decide the leadership of this nation, of this state, of this city. It's time for us to stop being bamboozled and divided by white supremacists that can only survive while we are on our knees.
That's right.
Collectively, we determine the fate of this nation. Collectively, we determine the fate of humanity. And as long as we do not allow white supremacy to divide and conquer two great giant peoples, we will take America from her dark past and her dark present into a brighter future. But only if we do it together.
That's right.
Only if we stop seeing color and start seeing kind. Only then can we confront white supremacy in victory and overcome the artificial lines of division. The flames have been stoked for our division for centuries. Today, we wash out the flames of division with our shed blood collectively, and we declare, we decide the fate of America's future. And no white supremacist and no gun-toting hate monger can keep us on our knees forever. So here's what we're gonna do. Collectively, we are gonna go to Georgia. Collectively, we are gonna get rid of that white supremacist, bigoted sheriff.
Yeah.
Collectively, we are going to go to Washington and demand real gun reform in this nation. Collectively, together. As we marched and declared Black Lives Matter together, we will march and declare Asian Lives Matter together. And together, we will decide the future of New York City, its leadership, its direction. Together, we will rebuild America. We will rebuild New York. We will rebuild a bridge that has been torn down by hate. Together. As our blood mingles in the streets, together, as our history is bound together, so is our future and the future of our children. They are bound together. Let us not fail the future by allowing this moment to slip unchallenged and unconquered. Together, love is the key to power. Love of one another is the key to power in this nation. We declare today to white supremacists all across America and right here in New York City. The days and long nights of division have ended. And America's bright morning is right upon us. And we will carry it across the finish line. Together. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
The key to power is love. And that's something to meditate on. Thank you so much, Minister, for providing those words. And in the spirit of making sure that this is an issue that we need to address from the city on up, from our communities on up, in the spirit of holding our leadership accountable, in the spirit of making sure that something comes out of this pain, it is my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you. Everybody, we are confronting right now a terrorism being directed at Asian American communities. Let's be clear. A terrorism, a fear that has been created, and it emanated from Washington, D.C., and it was state-sponsored. And now, look at the fear, look at the pain in our communities. We must confront it. The city of New York stands as one with all Asian Americans here in New York City and around the country. But listen, we need people to come forward who have been victimized and attacked. We need to know, and we call upon everyone. Go to nyc.gov/stop-Asian-hate. Join our effort to stop Asian hate together. And this is a city that will not tolerate hatred. This is a city that will never allow hatred. Together we will overcome it. Thank you. God bless you all.
All right, y'all. There's a lot of energy here tonight. All right. But now here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. What leads to power? Love. 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 We can't forget that. All right? Out of this pain has to come something. And to that point, the work that we do and the work that our partners do is intimately connected to the experiences of the people we serve. Our next speakers will reflect on the work being done and where the work goes from here within our communities and beyond. The organizations that are doing work in our communities to address gender violence, to address systemic inequities facing our immigrant and Asian American communities are often the first place our community members go for support. To that end, Asian Americans for Equality has been a steadfast partner in our work to address systemic inequities facing our community, like building affordable housing, helping to build community assets through economic empowerment and community development when traditional banks aren't in our communities to begin with. It's my pleasure to introduce Asian Americans for Equality Co-Executive Director Thomas Yu to provide some remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. My name is Thomas Yu. I'm the Co-Executive Director of Asian Americans for Equality. We were founded nearly 50 years ago, right in the heart of Chinatown. Our founders were young activists, many like you, who were inspired by the Black civil rights movements of the 60s and learned to organize and rally for equal opportunity and justice for all our communities. And if you come here today and understand why Asian lives matter, now you also understand why Black lives matter. They open the doors for all of us. And we are all here together when we step up for one another. Then when we are attacked, we are all attacked. I just want to say that 50 years ago, when our founders started the organization, and even to this day, we are still having the same issues. We don't have affordable housing in our communities. We don't have access to good jobs. Our small businesses are struggling. Our seniors need help. We need more mental health services. And it's not just this past year. Like I said, we've been talking about this for 50 years. Right now, we are seeing one of the biggest collapses of our local neighborhoods because of COVID. Our small businesses, our immigrant small business, our mom and pops, they can't open. Our people are put out of work. And we have a crisis of hidden homelessness and Asian poverty that never gets highlighted. We are treated as invisible when we are 1.2 million people in this city. If we were a city, if Asian Americans, Asian New Yorkers were a city, we'd be in the top 10 biggest cities in the United States. We are not invisible.
We're not.
So I hope the mayor is still listening, wherever he is. Our community is in pain. We need the resources. We need the resources to rebuild together. And we will step up when other communities are also in need. Let us not forget that. And I just want to end by saying that, hey, I had a bad day too. All right? But you know what I'm going to do when I have a bad day? I'm going to reach out to my friends, my families, and my community and say, what can I go out and do for you? I'm going to go to other communities and say, how are you doing? What can I do for you? All right? I'm not going to go out and shoot people. And we're going to make our bad day into a better tomorrow for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tom. And it speaks so much to the work that we need to do internally and a lot of the work that we need to fight for to address the systemic inequities that we're navigating against externally. But we need to bring up something that's been an underlying current this entire time. 4 of those whose lives were taken from them in Atlanta were Korean. As we learn more about the victims, learn more about their lives and what brought them here, we continue to recognize and connect so much of our community narrative in and to their experience. Korean American Family Services Center, one of our member organizations, has been a constant presence in the Korean community and a steadfast presence in city immigrant and direct service advocacy. As the pandemic raged and demand skyrocketed for their services in the community, to say nothing of a budget that hasn't been raised, KAFSC kept their doors open to support victims of domestic violence and to meet the needs of Korean immigrant women like those who lost their lives in Atlanta on Tuesday. It's my honor to pass the mic to someone who knows that the key to power is love, Jihye Fisher, KAFSC's Executive Director.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jihye Fisher, the Executive Director at the Korean American Family Service Center, also known as KAFSC. I would like to thank Joanne Yu and Asian American Federation for providing this really important space for us to speak up and speak out. The KFSC is deeply, deeply saddened, shocked, and angered by Wednesday's mass shooting. As an organization that serves Asian immigrant survivors who were and are victims of human trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual assault, this recent tragedy feels too close to home. The shooter targeted Asian-operated businesses and murdered 8 innocent women, 6 of whom were Asian descent and 4 of whom ethnic Koreans. The shooter did not have just a bad day. It was a carefully orchestrated violence against women. It was a senseless attack against Asian Americans. While COVID-19 has affected us all, Asians and Asian Americans have been disproportionately hurt by the ongoing public health and economic crisis. In addition, on the unwarranted attacks against members of our community and add another layer of trauma. These victims could have been among the immigrant survivors that KFSC serves day to day. These women who work long days in massage parlors, spas, and beauty salons just to make ends meet. These women, time and time again, are at a systematic disadvantage. These women are our mothers, our aunties, our sisters, our daughters, our loved ones. So stop spitting at us, stop cursing at us, stop stabbing us. Stop killing us. Stop Asian hate.
Yes. Stop Asian hate.
Stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. Stop Asian hate. And stop telling us go back to China. We belong here. We are Americans. We are part of America.
Haters are foreigners.
KFSC stands in solidarity with all of you to fight for racial justice and equality, not just today, but tomorrow, next week, next month, every day, until we see this racism and discrimination is ended. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right, Jihei. Thank you so much, Jihei, for speaking of the work you do and this work still left to be done. And just as KAFSC, the Brooklyn Chinese American Association is fighting the same fight. They've been at the forefront of our fight against anti-Asian xenophobia, giving voice to a community that has too often gone unacknowledged when its voice was more critical than ever, especially in moments like right now. It's my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Brooklyn Chinese American Association, Paul Mock.
All right, Paul. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Mack, President and CEO of the Brooklyn Chinese American Association. Really happy to see so many of you that are here today. And thank you for the Asian American Federation for really coordinating the opportunity for all of us. I just want to say that there's a long history of anti-Asians in this country. And from Georgia, New York City, Brooklyn, any place else, we are really seeing harassments and racial discrimination that are really hurting our community and everyone. Of course, seeing ever since the pandemic, we see the bias cases have been increasing throughout the country, especially in New York City. But however, I'm sorry to tell you that the numbers, even though they are high, but however, many, many more are being underreported. So what we do is that we hear from our community every day. People are being harassed. People are, being pushed and things in that nature. And unfortunately, it's really happening every day. And we are just not seeing the end of it yet. And of course, the past administration with their disinformation or misinformation basically is not really helping. So we are really hoping that we are able to make the correction of it by doing it together. I also want to take this opportunity to invite everyone to really take a look at the big picture, all the contributions that the Asian American have been making to the city, the Brooklyn, the United States of America. We are all in this together, so I really hope that by really working together, we will be able to really stick together and to really have our voice heard. I think this is a very, very crucial moment, and as sad as it is now, we are happy to see that so many of you are really coming out and really supporting the Asian community. So once again, thank you for coming out. Thank you for the opportunity for us to speak and to gather together. Once again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Our community-based organizations continue to lead by example. They're fighting day in and day out to deliver critical, culturally competent services to our immigrant communities while reflecting the women and men and children most in need of these services. And they're doing it on a shoestring budget, might I add. Demand has skyrocketed since the pandemic, and their budgets have not. Korean Community Services is the largest Korean-serving social service organization that supports all ages, especially seniors. It also has the only state-licensed Korean mental health clinic in the state. It's my honor to introduce Executive Vice President of KCS, Myung-Mi Kim, to offer a few remarks on the work being done in our community and how we move forward together.
All right, Myung-Mi. All right.
Thank you so much for bringing me to speak this big opportunity for me. We grieve over the continuous loss of Asian lives and express our deepest condolences to the family and community who have lost loved ones. I grew up being educated not to cause problem quietly. Also, I teach my children do not make any harms others. However, as I saw this time hate Asian crime, we had enough. This is the first time I speak publicly. I never speak out.
No me!
I never speak out because the Korean community, our culture, do not speak, do not make problem. I never ever speak loudly.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry, but tonight.
Tonight you speak!
Yes, I speak! We will not be silent anymore.
We want to hear you. Speak
We must stand together and fight this hate crime.
Yes.
Please speak out, Korean community. 이번에 죽은 사람들은 한인입니다. 여러분의 여동생이, 여러분의 누나가 죽었다면 집안에 앉아서 텔레비만 보고 계실 겁니까? 아닙니다. 우리도 목소리를 내야 합니다. 우리도 stand up together. 그렇지요. 우리도 이 나라의 주인입니다. 우리 다 같이 일어서서 이번에 하는 모든 이 이벤트에 참여하고 앞으로 우리의 보이스를 더욱더 크게 내어서 우리가 이 나라의 주인이라는 것을, 우리 코리안 커뮤니티도 이 나라의 주인이라는 것을 보여줍시다, 여러분. 감사합니다.
No more hate, no more hate, no more hate.
No more hate! No more hate! No more hate! Thank you so much!
No more hate! I feel like that was one of those moments where everyone underneath the mask, you could tell everyone was smiling just a little bit. Thank you so much for those words. And you know, I hate to take the turn, but I mean, we have to acknowledge that immigrants lost their lives in Atlanta. New Americans who sought a better life. New Americans who are seeking out services just like KCS, just like BCA, just like KFSC provide. That their lives ended as they did is a tragic reminder that to be an immigrant in this country is an act of daily courage. To be an immigrant in this country is an act of daily courage. The New York Immigration Coalition has been the loudest and strongest advocate for the rights of Asians and all immigrants. They have been our community's allies and advocates through thick and thin. And in this time of mourning, as we look forward to the work still to be done, I'm thankful to have Murata Wauda, the co-executive director of the New York Immigration Coalition, here to share this space and offer some remarks.
All right. All right.
Let's give it up for AAF. We could do better than that. Let's give it up for the Asian American Federation. What does community look like? So I say, what does community look like? You respond, this is what community looks like. What does community look like? What does community look like? Our safeties and solidarity, brothers and sisters. Just a few weeks ago, we rallied with the Asian American Federation in Battery Park. We rallied against the rise in anti-Asian violence here in the city and across the state and the nation. And what we see is the continual rise. At the root of hate and violence and systemic racism is one thing, and it's white supremacy. We cannot talk about reforming systems that were never built for us or our communities. So when people advocate for more policing, it's policing our own people. We're going to over-police black and brown communities. We keep us safe. Our communities keep us safe. There is safety in our solidarity with each other. We've seen hate crimes and hate violence increase not just over the past year, not just over the past 5 years, but for decades. Where you allow division, you allow violence. And when we are united, nothing can stop us. I want to just say a couple of words to our elected officials who spoke before me. We need action.
That's right.
We need action. What action do we need? We need investments in our communities. We need to support the community organizations on the ground already working in our communities. We need to provide language-appropriate mental health services. We need to provide resources for community-led healing. We need to center victim services and fund them. The New York Immigration Coalition is proud to stand tonight in vigil with you all and with the Asian American Federation. We are all we got. We are literally all we got. We are in this together. What does community look like?
This is what community looks like.
What does community look like?
This is what community looks like.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Take care of each other. My name is Murad Awauda, and I am the co-executive director of the New York Immigration Coalition.
Thank you, Murad. I need a reminder. What does community look like?
This is what community looks like.
What does community look like?
This is what community looks like.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Murad. This is an all of us issue and requires all of us to do the individual work in conjunction with broader community advocacy. Long after this mic is gone, we're going to have to be keeping up the same asks, holding people accountable, and making sure things get done. Because Tuesday isn't going to be easily forgotten, and we need to keep it that way. As interim executive director of the Arab American Association of New York, our next speaker has been a leading advocate for our immigrant communities. As a leader of the leading Arab social services organization, Marwa knows too well the pain of being invisible and being vilified for who she is. Please welcome Marwa Janani to the mic.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I'm Marwa Janani, the Executive Director of the Arab American Association of New York. Arab and Muslim communities worldwide know all too well what it is like to be demonized, scapegoated, and stereotyped. At AAA&Y, we seek to uplift all communities who have been attacked and marginalized by white supremacy, by systems of power that reject their humanity and their worth. Today, our hearts go out to our Asian American brothers and sisters all over the country, and especially in Georgia, for the violence that has been done to them and the losses they have endured. COVID-19 has exposed once and for all the systematic fault lines and failures that so many in our country have long tried to deny. It has been a year of reckonings, and while many of them have been public and painful, one of the most severe has been outside of the view of millions of Americans. This past year, while the eyes of the nation were focused on overcrowded hospitals and acts of police brutality quietly on street corners and in homes across the country, Asian Americans began feeling more and more unsafe in communities they had called home for years. It started with boycotts of Asian-owned businesses. It escalated into verbal and then physical harassments on the streets, with perpetrators emboldened by the hate rhetoric being spewed from the nation's highest office. And on Tuesday in Atlanta, the year-long cycle of public hate for Asian Americans reached its inevitable next step with the deaths of 6 innocent Asian American women. While the investigators point to the shooter's sexual attitudes as a primary motive for the attack, we know that white supremacy, misogyny, and anti-Asian ideology cannot be disentangled from each other. Not with 8 dead. Not with an entire community devastated. It is no coincidence that the vast majority of Asian American victims of hate crime are women. Ugly and untrue stereotypes lead many white supremacists to view Asian women as a group they can easily dominate and control, often with tragic consequences. The pandemic didn't cause this hate. Since the first Asian immigrants arrived in America, exclusion acts and internment camps have taught Asian Americans that many in this country feel that there is no place here for them. But as politicians and media figures started talking about Kung Flu and the Wuhan virus last year, those with hate in their hearts felt more empowered every day to violently express their attitude towards Asian Americans. Arab Americans know all too well what can happen when politicians and the media begin demonizing communities because of their ethnic backgrounds. And we know that the only way to fight back against it is to stand together in the face of this hate. Whether in Atlanta, El Paso, or New York, white supremacists will try to destroy and divide us, just like they always have in America. We cannot let them. We must stand in solidarity together with all of our brothers and sisters who fall victim to hatred. And today, we stand with the AAPI community all across this country, and especially in Georgia. Our Asian American brothers and sisters, we love you and we are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marwa. And again, this is just a reminder, as Marwa said, that the power is in our hands, the power is in all of these phones to take back our agency, to make sure that we have a say in what happens to our community. Next up, I'm excited to introduce Gabe and Trinidad, a first-generation queer Filipino-American theater maker and writer who explores queerness, immigration, and ritual in his work as a reminder of how to express what we're going through art. He's also a native New Yorker. Take it away, Gavin.
Before I start, I ask that we just take a breath together for a moment. Breathe and breathe out. In Filipino tradition, there is a leader in the community, in the indigenous community, called babaylans. They were mostly women, some men, some of whom now, using our language that we use today, might have identified as queer or trans. And they were special people through whom they could open the doors to the spirit world to ask their ancestors for guidance and healing. So tonight, please humbly accept from a queer brown Filipino an offering. I do not know what my ancestors would have done. I do not know how to do this ritual like this. I just know that I cannot carry this burden alone. Habang may buhay, may pag-asa. While there is life, there is hope. But what is missing in translation? The implication of you. As long as you live, there is hope because you are alive to make change, to affirm those who need to be seen, and to share your gift with others. You are the answer. You are special. You are a keeper of your family stories, traumas, and celebrations. So, this is an offering, a token of love and healing, a reminder that you are human, a reminder that there are terrible things in this world, but you can be hope. Just remember, practice self-love. Remember to grow. Hold yourself accountable. Be ready to be wrong. Be ready to do what's right. Now I ask all of you to look at each other. Look at the people here holding candles. Your chosen family. Habang mabuhay, may pag-asa. What is missing in the translation is the implication of us. As long as we live, there is hope, because we are alive to make change, to affirm those who need to be seen, and to share our gifts with others. We are the answer. We are special. We are keepers of our family stories, traumas, and celebrations. So, once again, this is an offering, a token of love and healing, a reminder that we are human, a reminder that there are terrible things in this world, but we can be hope. And once again, I will say, just a reminder, practice self-love, remember to grow, let us hold ourselves accountable, be ready to be wrong, be ready to do what's right, and as in Babaylan tradition, keep sacred the gift of connecting with others as we are doing now. Reach out to loved ones, cherish our elders, help those who are young to grow, to survive, and to flourish. And if you're going to learn any Filipino word for tonight, the word I will leave you is mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
That is a Filipino hello, but that is not the real meaning of the word. When I say mabuhay, it tells someone to live their life. So to us, I say mabuhay, mabuhay, mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
Thank you.
Can we just sit with that for a little bit and give him another round of applause, please? Thank you so much, Gavin. And as if to encapsulate this entire night, just the sheer emotion of that. This has been truly a difficult year for our community. And I'm not just talking about the 3 months in 2021, but all the way to the beginning of the pandemic last year. And this vigil was meant to help us grieve and process our experiences together. So right now we invite those of
They're calling on the city to not evict the near north encampment. So we'll, again, yesterday an eviction attempt was carried out on the near north encampment. If you want to know more information about that, go to people's Twitter. MNU Rising has a video up. A few videos up that showcase what happened. Twin Cities Camp Responder, I believe, is one of the other Twitter handles that has a lot of the information in terms of support for encampments and whatnot. Again, here is a transit officer. This action was put online, and so therefore this person is sort of probably ready because of that. I don't think transit supervisors normally are just here. We'll get some of this.
This is fucking class war! Organize against the state! This is fucking class war! Organize against the state! Hey! How do you spell fascist? GOP? How do you spell fascist? MPD! How do you spell fascist? MPD! How do you spell fascist? MPD! How do you spell fascist? MPD!
All right, you can grab that. Get this so I can hear. All right. You can talk about what happened at Near North. You can talk about encampments in general. I just want you to be able to speak. So, first of all, like, what is this? What brought you out right now?
I don't know if you guys remember, but when the uprising started, encampments were also being cleared as well as the uprisings. And then the state, I guess MPD, they kind of had tried to make it clear that we're not doing the encampments. It's, you know, it's the park police. They're the ones in charge of doing the evictions. We're not doing the evictions. That was a lie. They were partnering with the park police. So then now, come fast forward to Near North, it was only MPD there, come for the eviction. And then, you know, Near North has been around for a few months now, since October. So yeah, and they've, you know, built some incredible infrastructure to be able to keep warm from the elements. We just went through a polar vortex. They managed to get through that just fine, and then the state wanted to come through and disrupt what the community they built. So, you know, the community defenders weren't having that, and then, you know, it escalated, and, you know, Madaria Arredondo, the Minneapolis Police Department chief, went on a press conference and, you know, tried to, the community, I was appalled by seeing the community members attack my officers, and it was like, you know, well, videos clearly show that it was the opposite. You know, it was the community members that were inquiring about why the police were showing up to evict the encampment in the first place, and we were met with tear gas and, you know, just total indifference to our questions. So then, yeah, I got brutalized. People got brutalized, and I don't know, man. It's a lot of gaslighting from our public officials and our politicians, our local ones, and nothing's getting done about this houseless problem. And it comes down to, it's a lot of Band-Aids being slapped on wounds, but it's a surgical process that needs to start. And yeah, it needs to start ASAP, yesterday.
Can you talk about the gaslighting? It seems consistent from the authorities at this point, to where even the safety issue or the violence issue, quotes on those words, are used as pretext to say that they want to quell whatever, you know, community thing that's happening. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. What was so like how?
Yeah, a little bit further on the gaslighting, specifically on the encampment. So they're talking about, even for the encampment, it's there's pollution in the area, or it's a contaminated zone, or then you know, there's fire hazards or whatever else. But like you said, none of this is addressing the issue. But can you also just talk about how the narration and the gaslighting is occurring?
The gaslighting is occurring by with they're framing it as there's like environmental hazards that prevents them from being able to live in that area that they've occupied. But also like they keep naming off the open beds and shelters. First of all, it's an inaccurate number most time when they throw out these numbers. Second of all, we can see there was a resident who is actually a spokesperson for Near North, and they said like, when we get to these shelters, they have us under their thumb, and I'd rather risk hypothermia than going in there and dealing with the shelters than getting to bed at the shelter. So that's a lot of they're giving out that narrative that those shelter beds are open. It's like, well, dude, no one wants to sit through the winter anywhere in any city, let alone the polar vortex in Minnesota. So when they say, oh, there's shelter beds open, people just choose to be homeless, and I hear a lot of people that parrot that narrative, and it's like it's sad to just think people are like just simple-minded to believe that people want to be outside. There's not a deeper problem than that,
Yeah, thank you for that. So you also mentioned early that right when you started talking that the encampments were already getting sort of swept as the uprising was happening. Can you talk about since COVID, a lot of mutual aid has come from the community to help out encampments, help out resource push, help out clothing, food, and also shelter. And so the police then started reacting to that. And then when the uprising happened, even more mutual aid happened from the community. Can you touch on some of what you saw this last year?
I think the uprising brought a great opportunity to shed light on a lot of problems that a lot of people have gone indifferent to, and not even just the uprising, COVID as well. But along with COVID, the uprising for sure just steamrolled a lot of people into a lot of different topics that they decided to dive into, getting involved in some mutual aid groups. So then, the mutual aid the mutual aid spiked, and then a lot of our communities most vulnerable were getting help from a lot of different places, and then you're right, the state started targeting those mutual aid workers. It was a form of dual power, kind of a very minute form of dual power, and it was a threat, and they didn't like it. These community defenders or these mutual aid workers coming in and providing aid to them, it takes away the power that the police force have or these nonprofits have when they go in and they give out blankets or they give out these sandwiches or whatever. Well, they do that so they can go in and do soft evictions. None of these people want to leave from the places that they're at, that they've occupied, they've made home, they've made their community. And then when police forces and politicians and these nonprofits go in there with the blankets and these little trinkets, that allows them to go in there and do a soft eviction. Like, hey, it's time for you guys to go. And then it's like, hey, we got a relationship now. And it's like, no. So we go in there and we do our mutual aid. It's a different group. And we don't have an invested interest in trying to we just want to help. And then, that's a problem for them.
If you want to expand upon that, you can. But within that, I have a question of I know you're not a resident, right, specifically, but when it comes to residents that are affected, that are impacted, some of these residents, they are impacted by some of these things. When it comes to their opportunity to have their own voice, how important is that for you, maybe as a defender, to also accentuate that opportunity for them?
It's super important, man, because otherwise you get nonprofits talking for people that are living the actual experience, and these nonprofit people, and even me as a defender, I go to a house at night, so like I'm not speaking for them. They should be speaking for themselves. It's not a nonprofit's job. It's not these politicians' job. It's not my job. It's their job. So that's very important. And highlighting when the media comes, they want to talk to the mutual aid workers, and it's like, no, talk to these guys. You get their narrative. It's not our narrative. It's their narrative. That's super important.
I'll leave you the ability to get over here and check this out. But anything else you'd want to say?
International solidarity to everybody fighting the struggle, man. Stop line 3.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Didn't want to steal him for further time. It looks like they're developing some ideas and plans here. Again, quick recap. We are here in uptown Minneapolis. There's a gathering in response, a protest in response to the police violent eviction attempt on the Near North encampment over North Minneapolis. And people have gathered into a circle right now. They're going to try to decide what their next moves are. They might just be rallying real quick here uptown and not moving around. They might be moving around. We'll see.
Today, because I will not let this happen anymore. I do not want to hear my future children being ridiculed for how they look. We are all, like everyone else said, we are all part of the human race. And just please don't give up. Thank you all for being out here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you.
So we have time for one more speaker. I really want to thank everyone who had the courage to come up here and speak their truth, from our youngest participants today and, everyone who showed up. We have time for one more speaker, but I do want to make sure to mention that we have safety resources that we've created. Their e-resources are on our website. They've been translated into 5 languages, I believe. We also have booklets in the back. And, last speaker before we have concluding remarks.
Hi, my name is Narina. I'm 13 years old and I go to Hoboken Charter School. I'm in the 8th grade.
All right, Narina.
I identify as a South Asian woman. I am Indian. I am second generation Indian. My grandparents immigrated here for a better life. And it's so hard to believe that I'm standing here in front of you, having to fight for a better life for my children, my grandchildren, and everybody who comes after me. When I look at this crowd, I don't see race. I do see race, because that is who we are. It is part of our personalities. It's who we are. I am South Asian. It shapes every fiber of my being. But also, when I look out in this crowd, I see America. I see the true spirit of what America was meant to be. And it is true. The system wasn't built for us. It wasn't built for people of color. When we stand alone, when we stand apart, we are the minority. But when we stand together, we are the majority. We outnumber those who are going to stand against us. We outnumber white supremacists. So I fight for everybody in this crowd, everybody who feels discriminated against, everybody who feels like they face some sort of adversity in their life. Because nobody deserves to feel that way. Nobody deserves to be treated like Asian Americans are being treated right now. Like African Americans are being treated right now. Our past was dark. Our present is dark. But I have to believe that our future will be brighter. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Narina.
And so we have, okay, I promise one more speaker. Promise, just one more speaker.
Hi, my name is Yaru. We have talked a lot tonight about being invisible and having a voice. And there's one very important way we can all have a voice, and that is to vote. All of us in the Asian American community get your friends and family to register to vote and then come out to vote. And then once we've done that, we need to form alliances with other communities of color, blacks, the black community, the Latinx, Muslims, all of the other communities that have been scapegoated, trampled upon, and rendered invisible, because only together, at the voting booth and together, can we overcome white supremacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just thought that was one thing that hadn't been said. Absolutely.
Thank you so much to everyone who did speak, who came here to the middle of Union Square and shared their vulnerability with all of us. I want to thank you again for the members of the community who spoke today. And I also want to thank some of the elected officials who are here, State Senators Kavanaugh and Hoylman, the Manhattan Borough President, Gail Brewer, is here, various numbers of council seat candidates, and council members, Councilmember Antonio Reynoso comes to mind. So a lot of electeds came here because they know this is important. They know this is important. They know something needs to get done. And they were willing to hear our community organizations speak. They're willing to hear our community members speak. And I hope they're ready to be held accountable, because we're ready to get something done, because we can't have Tuesday happen again. We can't have it happen here. And we can't have all of these experiences that we've heard from all of these community members continue to happen and then just dissipate to the media ether. Now, I don't want to take away from the energy that these community members brought here tonight, so I just want to hand it off to our chair, our board chair of the Asian American Federation, to give some concluding remarks to what really is what has been a remarkable night. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for hanging in there this cold evening. It's sad that we had to come together yet again, but I'm Marjorie Hsu, board chair of the Asian American Federation. We hear you, the little voices, the tall voices, the soft voices, the big voices, and now that our voices are raised, we need to keep raising them again and again. Asian Americans need to drop the cloak of invisibility, and then together across all of our communities, let us work toward a better, brighter future where we have trust and respect, safety, protection, love, and I hope you all get home safely tonight. Keep well, keep those you love and your community safe and in your arms, and have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
I like found your body print. You were like, no!
So again, people are here gathered in protest to the Minneapolis police violent eviction attempt near North Encampment. Community defenders actually sort of stopped the eviction. That's why it was an attempt. There was some scuffles. 5 people were arrested, people were hurt. So now cars are able to go. Again, people stopped at the intersection, took space at the intersection for about 5 minutes, handed out a bunch of flyers to show exactly why people are out here. They seem to be getting a lot of support from the community. Again, this is sort of a plush, upper mobility, higher scale community, uptown Minneapolis. That doesn't mean that everybody doesn't support the unhoused, though. And so you're seeing a lot of support for the unhoused up here right now being displayed. I'll try to talk to somebody in a little second here, a few minutes. We'll see if anybody else will be talking. Might be a little hard. A lot of people are not really trying to speak on camera or on audio, but we will see. So yeah, right now people are just, I think, waiting for traffic to go by. Possibly they will be on the move or take the intersection again or take another intersection. But right now people are sort of just gathered on the corner here, Lagoon and Hennepin Avenue, and some of the banners are getting unfurled. No evictions on stolen land. The chant is back, ACAB, all cops are bastards. So that was no eviction on stolen land. This one says free all political prisoners. probably start talking. I don't know who this is, but this music might cut the copyright. So, this is Nico from Unicorn Riot. We are live here in Uptown Minneapolis, here off of Lagoon and Hennepin Avenue, where a few dozen folks, maybe up to 50, have maybe 60, 70 total, have gathered out here to bring awareness and to protest against the police's incursion into near North Encampment and attempt to evict the encampment of unhoused folks that have been up since October, as we heard earlier. 5 people were arrested. No unhoused people were displaced, from my understanding. The intent of the eviction was to clear people from the street, clear people from that area, the area the city says is contaminated and polluted and has fire hazards and all these other things. Looks like the crowd is moving again. Hope. Say his name. So it looks like people might take the intersection here off a lake in Hennepin. Some more graffiti. You see people handing out a lot of the flyers still. You see this person reading the flyer. It's getting a lot of support. They've been handing out these flyers. This states why people are here. You see this RIP Homie George Revolution with the love in the middle. Some graffiti up here, just spotlighting real quick. Unity, George Floyd's name.
All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards!
Again, it's a very, very busy intersection here of a lake and
We're walking this street first. We're taking this street.
Looks like folks are taking the block right here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All 12! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All 12! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All 12!
All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards!
So it looks like they got sort of two lines here. First line with the bikes, second line with the humans. And they're creating a line here on 31st as well.
All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What 12? What 12? What 12? All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards!
The chant now is no cops, no prison, no total abolition. How you doing? Good to see you. You too. The chant is free the homies right now. There's 5 people that got locked up from their defending of the attempted camp eviction. Here goes the Metro Transit supervisor again, speaking to a bus driver. This is 6B, it goes up Hennepin over to Edina. So the people in Jute Salon were gifted some flyers, they're reading them. I don't know if it's Jute or just a Veda or both, but that's what it is.
Take a stand! No evictions on stolen land!
So the chant, no eviction of stolen land, fuck MPD, take a stand.
No evictions on stolen land! No evictions on stolen land! No evictions on stolen land! Fuck if you ain't cops, bro!
People are calming them down. There's been so many times where cars have tried to drive through crowds of protests, and it's happened very, very often here in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, as well as across the country. People have actually died from other folks who have ran into them. Look at how fast people are getting off. People are getting off of the street very quickly.
Bye bye, asshole! Hey, let's get on the curb! Fuck you! Fuck you! You shouldn't die, bitch! All cops are bastards! Not even me. I'm just kidding.
So again, thank you all for tuning into this live stream. We are here uptown Minneapolis. That's the old Calhoun Square. It's been renamed to I don't know what. Doesn't have a name, yeah. Lake Calhoun been renamed. Calhoun Square has been renamed. A lot of these places are named after, again, as we said earlier, sort of white supremacist settlers who were very racist, and Jim Calhoun was not an exception. So it looks like folks are maneuvering themselves back down the sidewalk. There's been zero police presence. Zero. Some people... One person was screaming from a vehicle just a moment ago. Drew the ire of some of the folks in the crowd. You see there's a no justice, no street again. That's in reference to George Floyd Square. George Floyd Square has been threatened with eviction by the police and authorities, who they say the authorities did a press conference last week and said that they would probably be utilizing federal agents' assistance for intelligence and charging of people. Last quick look at some of the graffiti here off of the corner of Hennepin and Lake Street. People are maneuvering themselves, as I said earlier, back down the sidewalk, and we'll see if the march and the shutdowns of these intersections continue. Again, this is why people are here. This flyer says it. Minneapolis police will always protect property, and prey on people. Somebody across the street showing solidarity. So a little bit earlier at this intersection, we did see a driver come through very quickly, rolling up to the blockade of humans, and people got scared a bit. And he stopped his car suddenly and got out and said, "I'm with y'all. Let me do some donuts in the intersection." And so actually this is what happened. Some donuts were done in the intersection. So it looks like the crowd might be dispersing from here. If it is, continue to follow Unicorn Riot. We will have more on this eviction attempt. Again, there are videos that have been put up onto social media. TC Park Responder, MNU Rising. Both of those Twitter feeds have videos and other information in regards to Near North. Near North also has some of the folks at Near North have some social media. Check them out. NM Mutual Aid. That's at NM Mutual Aid. As well as TC Park Responder, MNU Rising, George Floyd Square, which is George Floyd SQ, TC_WDA, which is the Workers Defense Alliance, Whittier Cop Watch, excuse me, which is WIT Cop Watch on here. Whittier's a neighborhood here in Minneapolis on the south side, not too far from here. TC_SolNet, SOLNET. Those are some of the Twitter accounts to follow in regards to this action here. Some of the ways to support residents directly on Cash App. It looks like Gina Malik, L Map, Mike Murch. On Venmo, you got Joe 2 times, Jojo, Jeannie Malik, Mendela Zaba -1, Mendela Zaba -1. Also on Cash App or something. Yeah, I think also on Cash App. Nightwolf 2021 and Sidetracked. Again, And then check out tinyurl.com/23Z3BEXT. And those are direct ways to understand exactly a little bit more what's going on here. Get some more clarity, get some more context, hear from the folks themselves. What we'll be doing in the next few days is also hearing from some of the North residents, the near North residents, hearing about what they've gone through, what they've built, what the threats are now, and try to bring you that context in the next week or so, in the next few days, and continue to follow us for that, as well as more Derek Chauvin trial coverage. So again, the Derek Chauvin trial is maneuvering at a pace to probably start with opening statements on the day that they were trying to start, March 29th. We'll listen to The Last Chance, possibly The Last Chance. All right, so again, people were bringing awareness to the attempted eviction at Near North. It looks like everybody's wrapping up and calling it a night. This was an action, again, geared to show Uptown, to come to Uptown, where people are pretty comfortable living a nice life, and show them exactly what's happening with some of the unhoused communities and some of the defenders trying to help some of these unhoused communities. We heard from a defender earlier who was speaking a little bit about some of the realities that folks here in Minneapolis have faced. And in terms of police continuing to evade and evict some of these encampments. So continue to follow us at UnicornRiot.Ninja. We're on Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, Venmo, what the heck? Vimeo, YouTube. Just find us on the internet. You know? We're also at UnicornRiot.Ninja. Hey, there goes JoJo right here. Oh, it's not JoJo. What up, man? Long time. How you doing? Good. How are you? Good. You know, hanging out, working a little bit. Word. All right, it's good to see you, man. Huh? Sorry, man. All right, so we're gonna take this down. Continue to follow us again. Like I said, we will have more coverage from the Derek Chauvin trial, and tomorrow we will probably be live from Bemidji, where people are rallying to try to shut down Bemidji jail, where about 5 people have died in the past recent history. There's also that's sort of spurred on by Hardell Sherrill. There's been investigations into the Beltrami County jails and other jails across Minnesota and prison systems, and quite a lot has been found. Kara Levin has been doing an incredible job doing some investigating pieces, Brandon Stahl and some other folks, and continue watch that, because again, tomorrow we'll be live in Bemidji, and that story we've covered pretty extensively. A person who died in Beltrami County Jail in 2018, his name was Hardell Sherrill, and he was, I think, 27 years old, a father of 3, and he died from a disease, like a condition that sort of just attacked him, and all the jailers believed he was faking it, and basically it showed a lot of the racism within the medical institutions and also within the jailing. So that is not a singular incident, as well as George Floyd is not a singular incident, as well as Near North encampment being raided is not a singular incident. A lot of people continue to point this back to the alien conditions in the society, which sort of revolve around capitalism and revolve around white supremacy. So again, thank you all for joining us. This is Nico from Unicorn Riot. What we saw again was a rally to support Near North encampment and to protest the police's violent eviction attempt. We will continue to cover this story in a little bit further fashion with more context, probably with the article and some other interviews with some folks from the Near North encampment themselves. Again, thank you all. Tune in to UnicornRiot.Ninja is our website. Monday morning we'll be live again with the Chauvin trial. Saturday evening we'll be live in Bemidji, most likely. All right, you all have a good weekend. Stay masked up. Peace.